years of his life to enjoy the money before you're going to go on the turn.
That's the reality of it. Hello everybody, James here with another video I wanted to make about the topic of reparations and how the black community can solve a lot of the racial problems, the social problems that the black community been crying out for over a period of time. The government need to listen, because the vast majority of individuals, it can make a dent and improve in part of the descendants of society that have been robbed and been unjustified for many centuries. And not even centuries, but decades. If they want to do the right, that's one of the things is reparations. The second thing that they need to do is to close down the abortion clinics. And to be fair, that it's because someone's poor, and this big percentage of people that are in poverty that's in the community, and it shouldn't be a question of genocide when you have fraternity clinics in the suburbs. Let's even the game out. What if you do one of the two things, and then I can see, because the Black Lives Matter, those black lives in the womb matter, of the black mothers that need to be aborted. Need to come forth. God, that is and in the true black people of this point, the ones that's in the United States and elsewhere, are the descendants of Judah that has the makeup of God. God designed and basically centered around every human race out of the black race. So this should be a solution. Why would you want to kill off the one who resonated the race? Is the black race, that God took the skin and then you can start from the darkest part of the equator to the lightest part of the equator, and it's been shown throughout the land. And even though that they are kept in conditions, some people are kept in conditions based on the demographic area or country that they live in. But particularly here in America, it's always been like that. And if you can even level playing field like we do with other nations and nationalities that come to this country, it's only fair that the African American community will have the same access and resources. Because even instead of drowning in college debt, instead of being always in the bondage of poverty and third class neglect of medical services, judicial systems, and things like that. But if you're not willing to do that, I don't think any community wants to keep hearing the same old talk. Now I hear a lot of people saying vote, but you have to be wise. And voting is nothing wrong with voting, but voting you have to be wise, and particularly when you can elect the same person to, no matter if they're Republican or Democrat, but they can have the same common goal, but they just transform it. And it's almost like you can get a demon and he's a devil. You vote the demon, but what does the demon and the devil has in common? They both don't like humanity. They don't like the human race. Because the human race is consistently is the image of God. And it's the same, and that's the same analogy. When you got two people they can come on one accord, and one thing that they don't want to do just right for just this. So this is the thing. But reparation would be the one thing, and that's to repay for what you've done. If people will look at the Bible, if they really examine that book, they see how the way the two groups of people that tells the story about in the land of Africa. You had the Egyptians and you have the Hebrews. And the Hebrew children was under the bondage for 450 years. And under the Egyptians, they worshipped them. They took on their customs. They was under the government of food, pay, everything, and absorbed what they worship. And therefore, the Hebrew children some of them left the God that they worship, but took on the gods that worship of Egypt. And that's the reason why the Most High, whose children that was in the bondage for 450 years, he set them. He had to go in because he heard the cries. He waited 450 years, and it was only fair. And he warned the pharaohs of that time. He warned the pharaohs, let my people go, or else. God sent his prophet to tell him, let my people go, or else. And then when the Egyptians didn't hear heed to the one that Egypt was a nation. Egypt was a government in a nation that had powers, and some even had magicians that can work in another power and in another dimension. But God, and that would make people think that they had the spirituality in the connection, and that they were some type of gods. And even some of the Hebrews who were up under them thought that they were better off under their gods. But what you understand, and so that gave the Egyptians some kind of superiority over them. But you see, when the God of eternity came, that was his children that were locked after the cries he heard up to the heavens. For 450 years, the cries were answered. But before he sent and gave them what was just due, he sent the warning. He sent the plagues. And if you look in the Bible, and you know around about that time of year, they always do the plagues. The one plague was the water turning blood red. That was basically their supply of food. The locusts came. That was eating up the crops. The water irrigation was polluted. The fields was polluted. Darkness fell over the land for days. So they couldn't get no sunlight. And there was nothing. And even though the Egyptian people tried to pray to the gods that they prayed to, so-called, did not answer. And when God sent his speaker, let my people go. And you know what the scripture says, Phil hardened his heart. Therefore, an illness came on the land and started taking out life. The angel of death came. And what is that situation tell us to today? Because there's a people that's been being just for over 400 and something years, and they try to so-called halfway do things right. They spiritually witchcraft their mind. They believe that they're going to do the right thing, but they don't completely do the whole thing. They didn't completely, in those couple of things I mentioned at that time, but it took effect, because not only did the Egyptians did all those things, they committed one of the other great atrocity. They started with the Hebrew children and killed the babies from 1 to 3 to 4 years old. Put them like that. And this is what, so therefore the babies had to die. God took it pretty personal when he has to see babies come to heaven. He takes it real personal, especially when the life that's coming through the womb that he has signed and bring his kingdom of angels to escort every life till that child gets to the destiny of his point, till that child gets of age, till he hears the voice. The life matters. Yeah, the woman has the choice, but the life was given by God for that woman's womb to be open. It was given by God, the one who is the preparer of life, who put the life in the body. And some women don't even get a chance to enjoy the life that comes through the body, to leave a legacy is in the land, so they can leave their legacy in the earth. Therefore, there's another excuse that the Egyptians of today, and the Romans and the Egyptian mindset people today, well, they're gonna be in poverty. Maybe they're gonna try to figure it out that because the element they live in, that we have to find a justification to say, well, if it's rape, then we can justify the killing and slaughter in the womb. We can justify the killing if it's unwanted pregnancy. But what people don't realize, what about the life that was crying in the womb? What about the life that said, please let me come through this world, sent from eternity in the form of human flesh to serve out the purpose? And therefore you play with life. And then you, politicians, and many others like you, play with life. And you wondering why the plagues have hit this planet? Because this is one of the things that made the Most High angry. Very angry, to the point that, because this is something that's not just on our watch, but his watch. The one who says, I have a purpose for this one, and you playing in his court. And the people who, the politics in his land, who's pressed this abortion thing across the world, you playing in his court. Therefore, you're suffering the very things you see in your land, the pandemics, the economy, and what it plays is because the choice that you play God, you play judge and jury, and then you put in law and justify killing of innocent life. This is the truth. And the first community you did this on was the American black community in this country. How did you do it? You implement, and there were certain states that you implement laws that the women can only get help and services if the man leaves and the child is not, and the father is not present. God took it pretty personal. And then you throughout the 20th century, the early 20th century, just from back 2,000 years ago, when the Hebrew children, babies, newborns, up to 2 or 3 years old, they were tossed into sacrifice. And now, what you see is that when those dead babies leave, they go back up to heaven. The existing babies that were aborted, they go back to heaven. And you see the God of heaven, it hurts his heart. But now there's a justified anger that him through his son holds against the things that's in the land. And they allow the things because it goes across what the heavenly court says, that he ordained, and that everything bows before. And I know some people don't believe that there's the one. That there's the one that the heavens, that's over the universe, that's over the earth. It bowed and it reached to them. And he's been sending warnings after warning, but places like America and other places in the world don't hear him. He has sent people in the land, all walks of life, speaking these things, but you don't hear him. You don't hear him. You tell people they're religious zealous. Go and take that Christianity stuff away. That's Christian stuff. You're invading my rights. You're invading. I don't want to believe in him. I don't want to believe in that God. And this is what America, so you compromise. So some of us is who believe, who have righteousness that don't believe, they take it out and start experiment on certain communities of people to reduce the population. I said, we are in a bubble. We who have a righteousness believe, but you who choose to do the evil thing, you who choose to ignore the churches and the pastors and some of the ones who opposite of his spirit, the prophets is coming through, and everyone, but you still don't listen, and you're not going to listen till more travesty, more bloodshed that has to be shown on camera. Devastation has to come through the network of social media to media. Lands that you think that's just going to happen to them, but yet the same things is happening over in some part of the world. It's happening here in parts of the United States. Just like the COVID-19, and then you justify it, trying to push it on, and you kind of wish it on somebody and drumming up on somebody so that you can split the division, but there's no division because the plague is even showing you it's taking out life, whether it's in poverty or whether it's in the woods, no whether it's in a rural area, no matter if it's a suburb. Oh, you don't. This is my message from my heart. So to make just would do to keep the future for as far as people like Mr. Floyd who this life has taken away, the Breonna Taylors, the Ahmaud Arbery, and many others in this black community have been taken from unjust cause reason. Therefore, if you keep taking out the life and trying to stop the life, then it's only fair. It's only fair that the judgments come forth. Because you choose, in America, you choose to turn the ear and turn the face. You choose this. And you've been warned from people. But you threaten them, you shut their voice down. Now what do you do? When the economy is not get back up to the point. Since we live in a country, it's so capitalistic on things. It's the money driven. Now what do you do? When you play with, when you kill the life in the room, now what do? When you've angered the God of heaven. And I know some people don't want to believe that there's a God in heaven. That's another thing too. They don't want to believe that there is a God, because you got some people that push that narrative too. But those who do not believe in Him, you can't deny that you see death before you, and nobody you believe in what a foreign or whatever God or whatever your political whatever you can call it, Mother Nature or the aliens, whatever you want to call it, but you can't deny that the death is the plagues have hit the land just like they hit the land over 2,000 years ago when they witnessed it. Haven't it ever dawned on you that some of the same things, and those who've gone to church and pastors across the nation, across this world, have showed you time after time after time that even when it was the scripture said that there were people that were being vexed in the spirit by spirits. You do know that there are spirits that's in the land, right? And I know some churches don't want to tell you this, but these ancient spirits has been in the land. And so these ancient spirits that's moving across the land is trying to take out certain people. And there's a reason behind that. We could pray all we want to, but there's got to be acknowledgement from the whole body of Christ that the black light is just as valuable as the brown light, just as brown is the white light, just as brown is the red man's life, the yellow man's life, and every life in between. But until that time, if you consistently wants to play favorite, then the consequence is going to come on through. Then the plagues is going to come on through. The economy is going to be shaken on through. It's time, and I guess what it is that it's time for people to get out of La La Land. It's time for people to get out of La La Land. And the community of people that keeps crying about, they've been crying about for centuries and decades, it's black people. Right now, they're crying. Nobody can hear their ears. They've been crying about it. Maybe there's some people who buy into the crying out, saying he must have done something to just do something. And people make ignorant statements like that, despite whatever it is, because you see someone who commit the same crime, but just because they look different from the black person who did the crime, he don't get death. He gets a different treatment. And do you think that the God that created both of these men who can commit the same crime, exact same violation, but know the understanding that the double standards, do you think, how can a land be blessed when it has that kind of mindset? And then you got some people who is so caught up in appearance that they even believe, they say that we all God's people, but I don't believe the way they act. It's almost like the God that they speaking to has to look like them. The God who they pray to has to sound like them, think like them, talk like them. Because if they believe that there's a God, then they believe that there's a just that has to be just due. It was just due for the Japanese Americans. It was just due for certain Native American Indian groups. It was just due for the LGBT community. It's just due, and it's just a matter of time that the original people who built the White House, the original people who have done 465 years of labor, been red, and then trying to own land, own businesses, have towns, pay taxes, serve in service. The people who are the black people who fought in the wars, who did get equal treatment when they got back here. They were lynched and hung. They were told when they were overseas that they had tails of animals. The same people that were made fun of on cartoons and stereotype. The same people that this country have done this to. So they have to keep driving in the stereotype. That the driving and stereotype, but even put it on the future generations of the black children to rub their skin off, put bleach in your skin. The same, they try to reverse the curse. You put them out in the community, lighten their skin, texture their hair. The same curse is coming back on them. Those who do the right thing, because spiritually their mama, their father told them, always do the right thing, work hard, and be a good character. But yet, people can't distinguish because they're too busy looking at the color, not the character, as Martin Luther King says. It would be nice, and then it's like you have to walk. Then you have to, and then when you have to subjugate yourself to someone's insecurity and prejudice, whether it's on the job, whether it's going someplace to live, whether it's an education, whether you're being pulled over by law enforcement, in the court system, in everything. Don't you think that all these the four groups I mentioned before, black people, black women and black children and black men, don't you think that they deserve reparation when majority of the bloodshed was shoved in the ground unwillingly by unprovoked attacks, just because some was based on a lie? And it's sometimes sorry, just don't do a thing. Sorry when the same system is over and over and over again, and racism keeps transforming against, not even though other groups of people are seeing it, and being subjected to it. But the same brute of the racism goes against the ones who have the features of the continent of Africa. Isn't that coincident that they had to go through the brutalness based on the skin? And you're saying that they don't deserve reparation? They don't deserve, and it's continuously policies shifting and thinking that they are the gods that give them the high IQs and intelligence. But you don't understand that the same God that communicate with the black man, the white man, is the same God that communicates with the black man, the brown man, the yellow man. He's the same God that can open up the doors for any of them. He's the same God that can close down the door for anything. But the land is not being adjusted. This is the reason why. This is the cry. It's more than just a vote. It's what's doing what's right. And if America can't stop killing the life that's to come in the planet and value the life that's in the planet, then what purpose? Then what's the purpose then? Because that's what it comes down to. That's why we are under, and God has allowed these things to happen, because he's tired of it. He's sick and tired of people being greedy, and it's a capitalistic thing. And then why is it to take something to see so much death hit this country like they did to wake people up? That's just those people over there in that country over there. Well, they got poverty over there anyways. So they go and you get this. Some people here get this kind of high fluent, and it ain't gonna happen to me because of my education. It ain't gonna happen to me because I'm in a safe neighborhood. It ain't gonna happen to me. But you see, you gotta understand what your pastors and your priests don't tell you, that when it comes to an invisible plague, it don't care about your income. It don't care about your education. It don't care about your political views. COVID-19 don't care. COVID-19, the rigid, whatever this thing is, doesn't care. If you're a Democrat, Republican, it don't matter your education, who your status, who your social status, no. The plagues don't care. The plagues is coming. It's coming. Because why? We're arrogant. We as a country can be arrogant at sometimes. We can be very, very arrogant. And not just arrogant towards other people, but even arrogant to the one that we claim that we blessed in the land, and that God blessed the land. But we took and said, oh yeah, we so blessed the land because the resources, and yeah, we have the resources and all these things that some countries don't have. But what you're not immune to is the disasters and the plagues is going to hit the land like it hit everywhere else until you do the right thing. Hold on. Until America does the right thing and repay for the ones you have neglected, the last people have you completely wrong. And it's not just education, because anybody know that education, you have to have money for education, and education has to make money like hospitals got to make money. And it's making the demographic of money because it's so capitalistic, everything, and rightfully so. You have to have people to pay. You have to have material and things to make the show go. You got to pay a staff and get new material that costs money, and you got to pay money. It's all capitalistic, all capital. But the people that is being neglected of the capital, in which there is a wealth gap, is the ones who's been ignored from the wealth gap since being a patriotic. African Americans been a patriotic for 450 some years on the shores of America, and have not. And every time when they do, lies were spoken. and set the poverty back. The curses were spoke and set them back. The destitute. So it's only fair is to present a case and say that they deserve reparations, and so that the life of standard and living, and give them a choice whether someone to be in this country or someone to prosper in this country or go to another country, because you have people that can't unintelligently see that God had put them as another human being on the planet, not to be subjugated because of what is perceived on television and on media, and it's painting the mind of other people. It's only fair. If I wasn't what my appearance was to be, and I would only be fair that said that people deserve it because they went through all the things, and you jump from decade, generation, and different and went from that to slave code, from slavery, out of slavery, to redlining and so forth, and neighbors were set up. Some were neglected, communities were neglected based on this, and the black community have always had to take the second scraps over when it comes to education. When it came to education, when it came to serving in service, they always, black community people say, you get my waist, you get my second half. You get the used stuff, you get the broken water down fountains. You get the busted up bathrooms. No, you don't get the joy, the luxuries of the white counterparts. And America still put that spirit in the land is today. That's the reason why, and so the results of it. Why did this take place with all these killings? I mean, there's been killings of the same race. People can argue, there's been people of the same race who get killed. That's true. But when it came to the law, but the ones who perpetuate the law, who protect the people, some were given only on political rights to wear a badge, to feel like they're above the law, and a system going to back them up to execute the people who they label in these neighborhoods is unworthy to be a human being on the planet. So it's only fair that it's more than things that got to be done. More. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. More things. And if they would do reparations and get rid of the abortion clinics, and for the African American community to start mentally get healed up. And that can be the process, but that's the only way. They have to get mentally and find out, get down to the root, so many don't have these problems of killing each other. This can lead in other things, because a good percentage of African Americans are productive citizens. That they have a certain way of celebrating and enjoying their lifestyle. But most of all, most black people really don't want to start a race war. Don't go out looking for trouble. Start with any group of people. I mean, do some become a victim of crime? But it's not a victim of crime of race. It's just a victim of crime of circumstances. And some people individually doesn't reflect the whole race. They choose what they choose. But it's unfair when you lump people together and you have the stigma to put everybody in the same stigma. And even though that there's an argument about certain organizations that's supposed to be for people of color, but the people of color who took the most brutality is not benefiting from it. And even though people see it as a face, well, there's a black face on it, it has to be no. Because you see it's a black face on it, doesn't mean that is going to benefit the massive majority that don't have the understanding or awareness of to have justification of what is just due, just like any other citizen, even the ones that's here who are other nationalities, and the ones that's to come of other nationalities. And black people from this country say, what about us who laid the foundation? What about us who fought in the wars? What about us who pay our taxes? What about us who wants to come out of impoverished condition? What about us? But until whoever is controlling the wealth make a righteous thing, it's got to be more than it has to come from the government too, as well as the other entities, to make things right, which you have known lonely through decades since the founding men who laid the book out, and then put it in the law. Until they do something that's right, this is why the major things should be protesting about. It's more than just a vote. It's about survival, and it's only fair to mean what is right to what is wrong. Reparation is the thing. Any abortion in the inner city is the thing. Then all these other things that come down, the mental health services will come in, and then spiritually, as a collectively African Americans need to heal, and then be prayed for, so the rest can come out of that mindset. But what create the negativity is because the environment. And you put any group of people in the poor environment and try to destitute them to the point that it takes on a certain behavior, and this has been proven. You know, but until you do the right thing, this is going to keep happening. I made a video about Pastor Parsley, in Columbus, Ohio, who put a video out on the internet, basically saying that black people, African Americans, should forget about slavery. And in the video I said, in racism, how can you forget about slavery, but when you see black men getting lynched on trees in Palmdale, California, how do you forget about, or someplace in Texas? And it was a slave system that was back in the 40s and the 50s. How do you get beyond a system like that? That was part of the demonic system. How do you get beyond and say forget about racism and slavery? Now lynching came during the time of slavery. So what they would do is when people escaped the South and they would capture someone, it was like a cannibalism. They would chop off their bone. You can see pictures on the internet. They were like all the way from slavery until 1940 or 50. There were lynchings like crazy, like 50 to 6 lynchings, and falsifications of African Americans doing something that they didn't really get a chance to do. They got blamed for something and executed for something, and it was so gruesome and so vile and so cannibalistic that it was put in the pictures, chopping off a man's phalluses and testicle, taking out parts of his body. Babies during time of slavery, they would sneak at night to take a black woman's baby out of her crib, put it as gator bait. This is all documented. So all that trauma, and this happened in every part of the same. So I basically told Mr. Parks it can't. From then all the way to now, when you see young men like Tamir Rice to Trayvon Martin get shot in the street, then there was another young girl who got shot, who was like 8-9 years old, a black girl. How you can't tell the people to forget about racism and slavery when the same things of the element of slavery and racism through all those centuries keep adding up. And the blood count is the innocent blood, the unjustified blood is tallying up, just as like I was saying, like the babies in the womb. The life outside the womb is tallying up. It's tallying it up, and it's going to be answered at some point. The cries, and when it's due, the only way racism is going to be solved when Jesus, Yeshua, come back into this earth. That's the only way. People can talk it to the cows come home, and it might be a certain percentage of people that get it, and it might be a certain percentage, but the vast majority of people who control the wealth, who are unfortunately look like the white counterparts who don't have the wealth, who don't have the resources that do the right thing. The ones who do, them the ones who set back on generational wealth, them the ones. If they don't do the right thing, them the ones is going to pay the accountability. That's why reparation is the only thing to do. It was justified for the Native American Indians. It was justified for the people that were put in internment camps during the Japanese and American War. It was justified for the Germans that were put in, from what I heard, were put in camps in New York City, from what I understand. It was something like that. It was justified for the people that even it was during the time of the Nazi Germany. It was justified. Reparation was justified to them because of the torment, and it's still some who still carry the scars, who was when they were a kid, when watching their parents being going out to the gas chambers. But the scars are still there. But it was maybe 20 years of that. But African Americans have carried this scars for over 400 years in this country, and God knows the other places that it was. Their reparations in different parts of the world. They need to pay. Brazil and other places. And whoever was responsible for slavery and traumatic and people bringing the slaves to their country, they need to be held accountable. Spain need to be held accountable for it. Portugal, the Netherlands, and all these people. England, start with England. The Germans, the Dutch, they need to be held. Reparation need to be paid in Africa. The reparation need to be paid in Brazil. Reparation need to be paid all over the world, whatever, even in the islands in the Caribbean. Reparation need to be paid because you put them in that condition. And just to say, well, they're happy now. No one's happy living in generational curse. No group of people on the planet is that. Make what is due. If you don't make what is due, then the consequences is going to come across that country, that land. Just like America is going through it. Now it's time for America to go through what other countries have done. Unjustified to people. And the only thing is to make it right. Not make up excuses. Not say something like, well, education is your reparation. We give you a black president, that's your reparation. No. Not when you picked it. Not when you picked it. You selected it. No. You didn't ask for the vast majority of African Americans. What will make this right? What will make this right in this country? So therefore, you didn't ask the majority. And certain ones ain't speaking for the majority. Because what justice is just right. And you have to do the right thing. And you will be blessed. But maybe the curses will subsist. And maybe God will hear from the heavens. And maybe he can, by the stroke of his hand, he can say, let the plagues be canceled. But until then, if you don't do these things, then you're going to pay the price. America's going to pay the price like any other place is going to pay the price because of you. When you, especially with abortion, you're playing in his court because now you basically saying we got designed to take out this race of people because they disdain because they are the darkest of the planet, because they disdain because they're going to be poverty and more prone. When you make that assertion that they disdain because they don't have education, they disdain. I don't like them because they don't look or smell or serve out, whatever it is. When you say, well, let's kill them and deal with them just like they did in the Bible, and some pastors want to talk about this. Look what the consequences did. Even the Spirit of God even showed what the people, how they felt about the Hebrews. And when every nation came up against the Hebrews, they got whooped. They got land to the point that some of their places is not even in existence no more. America. Think about that. And maybe some people say, well, maybe that's just a story. Well, maybe that's just a fable. No. Anybody that have experiences with God, and those who have experience that know God, and who have the common sense enough to know, what happened then is happened now, because the eternity is a different realm than this life. And where eternity, he saw the past. He still can look at the past from eternity. Because eternity don't go on the realm of our world. Eternity goes on God's world. It's in God's world. The Most High's world. That's his eternity. And as the earth moves, in its time and years and decades, and as we age into this earth, he don't age. Nothing in eternity of heaven ages. The spirits, even in hell, they don't even age. The hellish demons don't age. They get hideous, but they don't age. You can't kill a demonic spirit because it's already dead. It goes from one body to another body. You understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? So, in the same spirits that they did with them in those days is the same spirits we're dealing with now, in this century, in this time, manifesting in people. And that's why some people, you might think, some people that they come to, because they know that people think that they're mentally something wrong with them. But it's not they're not mentally wrong. When people said the devil made me do it, some people could be telling you the truth. The devil did make them do it. A spirit did tell them to do it. And they acted upon it. Just something to think about. Because like some people really can hear from God. There are people who really hear from God when they stand before him and hear his voice. And they pray and they fast. Something in a realm, an eternal realm, is going to speak. And whether it's for the good or whether it's for the bad. So this is for the people who don't believe in these things. Because what you don't believe is going to make you believe, because it's going to manifest. Mark my word. Because something that comes out the eternal realm comes to the eternal realm. So the one who is over creation in the eternal realm is saying, if they start doing right, seek and do what is right is in the earth, and do what is right is according to heaven, then I believe God can change the world, to turn things around. But the ones who continue to operate evil, we're going to see what the ones who operate in evil do. He just preserving the people and keeping the ones who say that don't do, who don't agree with this. And most of us don't agree with the evilness and callousness of what people do. And you think that just because they do something in the dark, they don't know nothing. That's where the spirit world come in. How does this person know that, dude, we in a whole different dimension? God knows things about things that we today, and he knew about probably about 5-10 years ago of our lifetime. Or from what the White House to tell what your house is doing. and then you come into, and that's the truth. And then he chooses to reveal it when he wants to reveal it to certain people he trusts with. Do you understand? And you can choose not to believe what I'm telling you. That's up to you. But you can't deny what's in the present day earth. You can't deny the plagues is in the earth right now. The pandemic is in the earth right now. The economy, because of the pandemic, is in the earth right now. So it's only what I'm saying. If people don't do the righteous thing and pay what is due and do what is due, then be prepared for the consequences. Simple as that. And you choose to be like the pharaohs of that day and harden your heart and curse the people that you don't like and say, no, they're not getting the doggone thing. I'm not giving them a thing. Well, that's the same thing the Egyptians did. I'm not giving them up. The Pharaoh said, they give them. You know that it's every year that they show that movie about Moses. That's a true story. That was, and in fact, it is evidence of it when if you go over it. There's some people, scientists have had an explanation show right where it was at, the division of the sea, and where it was split at. So that's what those people who don't want to believe it. They just want to say that, well, that story about Moses is a story. No. There's been proven that was real. God did do that to the earth at that time. He divided, he helped them get up under the walls of water. Something held back those walls of water that was deep, that the sea was so deep. He split that sea from all the way down on a global. What the ocean makes up how much amount of water than the land, and take something and divide that up like that. And it's the evidence that the marks are still in the ground to this very day on where he parted that ocean. It's still in the earth, and the scientists showed it. That over there, did this really happen? Did it see? Yes, and it was evidence that it happened. So for those who don't want to believe in God or anything that's in the Bible or anything like that, hey, this is evidence. They still digging up evidence over there now. That this stuff did happen in parts of Africa and so all along that coast, in Iran and different areas, and it was Persia. Yeah, this stuff really did happen. All the things that you read in that Bible that was translated to the Bible happened. So now what you got to say? So it's something to think about. But we'll get back, and I'm sorry to go far off topic, but I'm saying the reason why I went that far off topic because these people out there that don't believe. They don't believe in just the basic, and they can't put two and two together. That's why I rambled like that. Because they don't truly believe that they don't believe it. They think this is going to go away. No. This is just from the beginning. And as we see, and then they pretty much telling you there's going to be there's another epidemic coming in the fall and the winter. Who knows? And what they're trying most people to do. And get down to the point, if you take this or you don't get food, or you don't, just little things. Or you may be not even able to fly. You may maybe go certain places. Yep. And it was written, but people didn't want to listen. But people try to tell you, but no, you didn't want to believe. No, you're a conspiracy person. You're a conspiracy theory. No, it's come to pass. So it's something to think about. But anyway, getting back to what I'm saying, to make things right with this with Black lives is do that for Black life. And those other added two things: reparation, Get rid of the abortion clinics. Then the black community will start healing itself. One of them two things. Then the other things, then it's up to the black community to do. As far as the inner fighting, the disagreement that led out to other things. So my name is James. I just want to chime in on, what would make this thing right? What would make the thing of racism kind of go away? How can we come along? How can we get along? How can we get? If you can do that, that's the solution. But it starts up top with the government doing the right thing and seeing that there's a need, and Donald Trump need to see that the reparation need is to pay. They're the last group of people. It's more than just throwing a couple cookies. It's got to be a complete thing, and penalizing the ones who in poverty neighborhoods that have excuse to execute murder on the black population. You do that things right, watch. It could be a change, and seek God's face. We can do the rest. We all can get along. But if people hijacking it for their own political reasons and using this man's death for their own gain, God's gonna expose all that. I'm telling you now, God's gonna expose all of that. Because you're gonna find out who the God people who have been praying, getting on their knees praying for, asking this nation to heal. Oh, he gonna speak, and some people ain't gonna like what he got to say. And if you don't like it, you ain't gonna have no choice. Because it's like, hey, with all of us, even those who have a covenant with God, there's some things that they don't like, but we all have to do. It's just a matter of fact, we all do. And if you're not, then the consequences will come. And that's what we're seeing. And if they don't do right, the consequences will come, unfortunately. That's part of the healing process. Reparation, again, get rid of the abortion clinics. That two entities right there. And if the government can do that, that can level the playing field for the ones who be the most patriotic people in this country, is African Americans, who served in every war, invented a majority of good inventions that help shape American society and probably elsewhere, and other avenues too. If they do that thing that's right and give credit to it, then it can come right. If they don't, then more consequences, things to come, and who knows that we all can, some of us could bring part of the suffer, may not complete the part of the suffer, be initiated in the suffer, but be part of it because of the consequences, which is the situation we are in right now. Just something to think about. I'm sorry ringing on so long, but the solution it is what I basically said earlier. That's the solution. So I hope people will take this. Some will hear this. Some people will disagree with it. Some people, I might not get too many likes of it, but it's only fair. If other groups of people have been justly wronging the earth, and some way unjustly wronging the United States, it's only fair. Fair is fair. When you take, that's even biblical. When you take something, if you don't pay a man his wages, he cry out that and you get them unfair, then the God of unjust will answer, especially when you put in his time and his labor and give you his time and his African Americans' time to get what they've been put in for. More appreciation now more than ever, because it was part of the backbone, the back shit of buildings and nations and industry. They was the ones that behind. They was put back as the unseen, not just in entertainment, but in all other avenues. And some were robbed because of it. They were robbed of the usefulness, never gained credit, never received monetary compensation for what they hard-earned work, just like any other individual who put his or her hard work in. But yet they took credit because someone exercised their prejudice. That's what happened. And that's why some African Americans are angry. Just like anybody else will be angry. You take something that you took something credit for something, and you kind of excluded the people because you say that they don't have the education because of their skin color. When you're living that, they don't have the wherewithal to think, and don't think that the God of heaven don't communicate to these people just as well as any other group of people. That's just common sense, and the solution how to get through that situation. That's just common sense. Something to think about. All right, then. Until next time, you guys take care.